Okay. So, ang last na philosopher natin sa modern philo is si Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant. Yun. Si Immanuel Kant ang nag-synthesize. Nag-synthesize ng, ano na yung tawag doon? Nag-synthesize ng both rationalism and empiricism. Meaning na wala siyang kinakampihan. Wala siyang bias, kumbaga, si Kant. Both for him, rationalism and empiricism are important aspects. Yon. And ang goal ni Immanuel Kant, sabi nga dito sa notes, is to provide a new science. Ano ba yung characteristics ng science na tinutukoy ni Kant? It should be number one, universal. And number two, progressive. So yun yung para kay Immanuel Kant na magiging basis na ng mga ideas. It should be something na general idea para kay Kant. Malalaman natin mamaya pag tumagal kung ano ang importance ng generalization or ng universality kay Kant. Para kay Kant, sobrang important ng idea ng universality. Hindi lang sa hindi lang sa pagsisynthesize niya ng rational and empirical, kundi pati sa kanyang yung tinatawag natin na Kantian ethics or yung ethics of Kant. Yan. Na naging influence din naman ng mga medyo bago-bagong philosophers tulad nila Hegel, Levinas, mga ganon. So, yon. Punta tayo dito sa idea ng synthetic a priori judgment. Ano ba ang, kung maaalala nyo, nung last meeting, lahat ng a priori judgment are considered, especially dun sa last na philosopher natin, which is Hume ba yung last? Hume? Yes, Hume. Para kay Hume, lahat ng a priori are analytic. And lahat ng a posteriori ay synthetic. Pero look at the term na ginamit ni Kant. Pinaghalo niya ang synthetic a posteriori and analytic a priori by calling them what? Synthetic a priori judgment. Yon ang tawag niya. So para kay Kant, magiging successful or naging successful ang science because ito yung ginagamit nilang judgment, the synthetic a priori. Yon. Success in knowledge here means progress and universality. Again, paulit-ulit, no? It should be something na universal or general and at the same time progressive. Yon. And sabi ni Kant, para kay Kant, only the synthetic a priori judgments can lead to progressive knowledge. So, to dig in deep, no, knowledge is made of proposition and judgment, sabi ni Kant. Di ba, maalala natin sa ating rational philosophers, starting from Descartes, Spinoza, and then Leibniz. Tapos, which we call them, no, the judgment of reason. No? From the word reason or rationality. And it is opposed to this judgment of experience. Sino tong mga to? Hobbes, Hume, Berkeley. So yung mga later, mga na-lesson natin no midterms and semis. Except kay Spinoza, of course. Sila yung mga under sa empiricism or no, empirical, meaning to measure. No? Kaya experience kasi it's something na measurable. So yun. Yun yung dalawang distinction. Rationalism and empiricism. And sabi dito, empirical propositions or factual statements are called a posteriori because their evidences flow from experience. Yung mga idea ng empiricist is ito, na our knowledge of things or the facts that we gather from our surroundings comes from our experience, sabi ng mga empirical. They were more concerned with the idea kung paano tayo mag-experience. That's why they are empirical. So yun. And kay Kant, no, he calls these empirical judgments synthetic a posteriori, which is yun din naman yung tinawag ni Hume and other empirical philosophers. The synthetic at the same time a posteriori judgment. Because in this judgment, the predicate is not contained in the subject, therefore subject and predicate form a synthesis. So these judgments explain how human knowledge is progressive. Unfortunately, they can never give a universal knowledge, but only knowledge of particular instances. Thus, through them alone, it is not possible to explain the universal character of scientific knowledge. So, para kay Kant, sabi niya, ang problema sa pag-focus lang sa empiricism is that, yes, they are progressive. Meron silang progress. But they cannot be universal. Bakit? Because my experience as an individual is something that may be, though not always naman, may be different from your experience. Diba, as an example, Marcos regime. Those people na nakinabang sa pag-upo ni Marcos, they look at it as good. But on the other side, yung mga victims, they look at it in a negative way. So it can, that idea, whether kung maganda ba or hindi, yung kanya naging pamumuno, is something na never magiging universal. Meaning na there can never be a exact answer kung tinanong mo, is it good or not? Wala siyang exact answer kasi nga it is not universal. So yun yung mga examples ng a posteriori judgment. Kaya sabi ni, and so dito naman, as a comparison sa judgments, dapat yan, kulang ng n. Judgments of reason are called analytic because their predicate are contained in their subjects and the analysis of the subject reveals the predicate. Ito naman ngayon is that they are universal. But yun, the evidence of these judgments is contained in the subjects. The analysis of the subject reveals the predicate. The evidence of this judgment does not come from experience but from reason. And they are called analytic a priori. Ang problema naman ngayon, sabi ni Kant, sa mga a priori judgment o yung mga what do you call this? Analytic judgment or statement is that they are progressive. I mean, I should say, they are universal. Kasi hindi sila pwedeng kontrahin tulad ng idea ng 2 plus 2 equals 4. But they are not progressive, sabi ni Kant. No? They are not progressive. So, para maayos ngayon yung kakulangan ng synthetic and analytic, he made a synthesis. Pinaghalo niya. So, by combining analytic judgments and synthetic judgments, nagkaroon ng synthetic a priori, which is both not just universal but also progressive, sabi ni Kant. So, yun. Pero dito, sabi niya to, there is a question. How are synthetic a priori judgments evident and compelling? So the evidence of analytic judgment is clear. They are based on the principle of identity. The evidence of a synthetic a posteriori judgment is given by experience. So meron ditong idea ng kung maaalala nyo, ano ba yung principle of identity, di ba? It is the principle na ang identity is iisa. No? There can never be multiple identities. So the identity of Rene will only be for Rene, and the identity of Giselle and si Gabi is their own identity. Kaya nga, principle of identity. That's why it is clear. No? Iisa lang siya. So yun, that's why sabi ni Kant, it is analytic. To look at it, no? Ang gusto lang naman kasi ni Kant is that he is trying to study human behavior. Gusto niya lang aralin ang tao. Why? Isa lang naman ang reason ni Kant kung bakit inaaral niya ang tao. He is trying to study man because by doing this, maiintindihan niya yung kanilang behavior. And pag maiintindihan niya yung kanilang behavior, then he might use this, no, magiging useful para sa kanya para para gumawa ng theory about sa how man should act. Kaya nga pupunta lang din tayo sa kanyang what they call this, sa kanyang ethics, no, or the Kantian ethics. So yun lang naman yung synthesis ni Kant by combining synthetic and analytic judgments. Nawala na ngayong weakness or nawala na yung weakness ng rational and empirical kasi pinaghalo niya. To sum it up, ang gusto niya lang ipahiwatig is that kahit na gaano ka-importante yung rationality or yung pag-iisip, kung hindi mo siya na-experience, it is nothing. And ganun din, vice versa. Even if there is an experience, kung walang rationality na magpa-process or what do you call this? Iintindi ng experience, then it is just an experience without meaning. Kaya sabi ni Kant, no, man is composed of two, both the empirical and the rational. So yun yung kanyang synthetic. So yun, the a priori forms of understanding or categories. So wait lang. Naglolo ko yung pag-scroll ng mouse. It was scandalous. Immanuel Kant thought that philosophy was reduced to the idealism of Berkeley or the skepticism of Hume. Kant compared himself to Copernicus. Sino nga ba ulit si Copernicus? Siya yung nagsabi na ang center ng universe or ng solar system, I should say, is not the Earth. Instead, it's the Sun. In which, nung una, of course, na-criticize si Copernicus na mali siya. Kasi hindi yun yung turo ng simbahan. Pero they realize at the end na tama si Copernicus. And yun yung gustong gawin ni Hume. No? Itama yung mali. Even if nung time na yon, they look at him as something na medyo revolutionary. But then, Yun, he was trying to make a difference or correct the para sa kanya no mistakes ng philosophy. Kaya nga babalik tayo, he wanted to establish a new science or something na pwede mong maging basis ng lahat. Kaya nga again, universal. So yon. According to this idea, the fundamental properties of objects in the world outside the mind are due to our minds, not the objects themselves. So Kant's thesis was the evidence of knowledge derived not only from experience, as in synthetic judgment and as in analytic judgment, but from third element, no, the mind. So para sa mga empiricists, di ba? The mind is a blank slate or a blank tablet or something that can be filled with ideas. Pero para kay Kant, no, this is not the case, sabi niya. The mind is not passive but an active faculty that interprets the world by means of what Kant called pure a priori concepts of understanding or categories of understanding. So, merong mga 12 categories, no? Pero onti lang yung nabanggit dito. Anyway, hindi naman natin na kayang alamin lahat. It's just that we should know that there are understanding of things. Ano yung mga yon? Among them are space, time, unity, plurality, totality, causality, and substantiality. So these concepts are not deduced by the mind from reality. On the contrary, the mind brings them to reality. That is why Hume had been unable to find them out there when he looked for them. A sentence such as every event is cause, which to Hume was neither empirical nor true by definition, is according to Kant synthetic a priori truth. Um, so ang gusto lang naman kasi ni Kant is just maintindihan natin na it's not the world that presents itself to us, kundi para kay Kant, it's us who gives meaning to the world. Nasa atin kung paano natin i-deal. How do we deal with the world? Anong ibig kong sabihin dun? For example, yung mga pangalan ng bagay-bagay sa paligid natin. No? It's us who gave meaning to those things. Kunwari, trees. Kahit naman siguro hindi nag-exist yung tao, may puno. Pero dahil sa tao, nagkaroon ng pangalan ngayon yung puno. Pinangalanan naman ng puno or trees. So meaning that, ang implication niya is that it is not the world that presents itself to us, but instead it is us who makes meaning out of this world. So yun yung para kay Kant. Yun. Sana tayo. So, why do we say that A causes B? Neither from experience nor from an identity between cause and effect, but because of the category cause in the mind. The mind imposes or projects causality on the given phenomena of experience without a priori category of the mind, which is causality, which is constituent to all minds. We would never be able to organize sense impressions into causes and effect. Sabi ni Kant, it's not that things are cause and effect. No, hindi naman, it doesn't mean that A always causes B. Pero ang sabi ni Kant, it is us who gave meaning to those events. Kunwari, no? Kumain ka and then nabusog ka. The cause of your pagkabusog comes from what? No? Comes from your action of eating. Kumain ka kasi nga gutom ka. So, It doesn't mean that ang sabi niya, it's not that we experience it or it's the identity, but it is the mind, sabi ni Kant, na umintindi nung situation. There's the process of eating and then nabusog ka. So, what happens is that inassess nung mind mo kung ano yung nangyari. Therefore, you're trying to tie things up, no? Pinagtagpi-tagpi mo yung facts na na-realize mo. And then, nagkaroon ka ngayon ng idea ng cause and effect, sabi niya. So, meaning, again, babalik tayo na para kay Kant, even the cause and effect that happens around us is something na tayo ang gumagawa or tayo ang nag-i-impose. No? Hindi mo naman masasabing nangyari yung A dahil kay B kung there is no mind to understand those events. So, yun. So, the categories are a priori. That is, they are prior and independent of experience. They are universal and they form the structure of every mind, necessary condition of experience. Without them, knowledge is not possible. The a priori categories of the mind are the foundations of the synthetic a priori judgment. So, yun, yung idea ng, yung dati nang nakalagay sa isip natin na idea ng space, time, unity, plurality, totality, causality, substantiality. Yun yung mga a priori or dating nasa utak na natin, no? Dating ang naka-embed sa pag-iisip natin. Pero paano natin sila naiintindihan? No? We understand them or we encounter them through synthetic, which is yung ating mga experience. So, dito na papasok yung connection ng experience tsaka ng mind kay Kant, no? The connection between the rationality and the empirical experiences. Kaya nga tinawag siyang synthesis, no? Connecting it. He's trying to connect it. As opposed to the idea ng empirical tsaka rational na isa lang ang kinakampihan nila. But him, he's trying to make a synthesis. So, yon. Saan na ba tayo? So, synthetic a posteriori judgments or progressive, which are progressive but not universal, are evident on account of experience. And analytic a priori judgment, universal but not progressive, are evident on account of principle of identity. Kant showed that a synthetic a priori judgments are evident on account of the a priori categories of the mind. So, yun. Yun yung way ni Kant para, no, sabihin na lang natin na pagbatiin yung idea ng rationality and empiricism instead of something na magkakontra. Sabi niya na we have to have both to understand things, sabi ni Kant. So, obviously, Kant's theory of synthetic a priori is reminiscent of Platonic and Cartesian doctrine of innate ideas. But there is a major difference. Kant did not claim that we are born with a group of ideas, but the mind is structured in such a way that it analyzes its data in terms of a particular set of synthetic a priori rules, which are like a permanent program in a computer which produce ideas when fed information from the senses. With colored red spectacle, we see everything red. With our categories of causality, we see causal links in nature. So meron pa yung idea na tinatawag nating noumena and phenomena. which is maintindihan rin natin mamaya. Okay. Kant's position was meant to represent between the warring rationalist and empiricist. His famous assertion, ito na yun, yung sinasabi ko. Thoughts without content are empty and intuitions without concepts are blind. So sinasabi niya na rationality is not enough, but at the same time, empiricism also is not enough. So you have to have both, sabi ni Immanuel Kant. And it was meant to grant to the rationalist that sense data alone could not provide knowledge, and to grant to the empiricist that there would be no knowledge in the absence of sensorial contribution. Sabi ng, tulad nga ng sabi ko kanina, you cannot understand your experience if there is no rationality that will assess this experience. And at the same time, walang i-assess na experience yung rationality kung wala ka namang naging experience. So, yon. So, Kant's solution seemed to be successful. However, it puts him in a disconcerting position, for he admits that there exists a nominal world. The nominal world is the reality behind appearances. And we know that such a reality exists because appearance must be appearance of something. But we humans have no access to this nominal world. Rather, we are limited to knowledge of what Kant called the phenomenal world. The world as we perceive, imagined, interpreted, analyzed, and theorized by the human mind. Nothing positive can be said about ultimate reality other than it exists. So the concept of nominal world is what Kant calls limiting concept. Traditional metaphysics was not possible because it illegitimately applies notions of space, time, and causality to the nominal world, when in fact these concepts can be applied only to the observable world. Science is the knowledge of the phenomena through the categories and never knowledge of the noumena, that is the things in themselves. So, para maintindihan tong idea ng phenomena and noumena, 'di ba kung meron kang blurred na glasses. So, kapag sinuot mo yung blurred na glasses, that is the phenomena. Yun yung nakikita mo. So, that's what you see. Or example, looking at a smoky glass o yung glass na medyo hindi clear. That's the phenomena. But there's what we call the noumena or yung the reality behind the appearance. Hindi mo siya nakikita. No? But there it exists. No? Nandun siya. It's just that you have no access para malaman siya. But you know in the back of your mind that it exists. So yun yung noumena and phenomena. As a comparison, no, similar siya sa World of Ideas ni Plato, na kung saan ang World of Ideas is nandun yung mga ultimate na itsura na mga bagay-bagay. But then, meron tayong tinatawag na accidents or yung physicality nung bagay na yon. That's the phenomena. That's the physicality or its appearance. Pero meron siyang ultimate na reality, sabi ni Kant. So, yun yung kanyang idea ng phenomena and noumena. Before tayo mag next topic, any questions muna or any clarifications? Guys, nandiyan pa kayo?
Yes, sir.
May tanong?
Sir, ano din si Kant, sir, kung hindi siya rationalist or empiricist?
Modern philosopher. Oo, siya ang nag-synthesize, no? He connected both. Kaya nga yung palaging inuulit-ulit ni Father na sinasabi sa akin noon, the great synthesis of Kant, sabi niya ni Father Dennis. The great synthesis of Kant. Kasi wala siyang kinampihan. But instead, kumbaga, siya ang gumawa ng conclusion ng modern philosophy. And then after niya, pumasok na ang mga tinatawag nating contemporary philosophers na, mga bagong philosophers, no? Na kumbaga siya ang nag-pave way or nag-open para sa kanila. Levinas, Hegel, tapos sinundan ng ang dami, no? Ang Heidegger, mga ganon. So, yun, kumbaga siya ang nag-open ng bagong idea. And isa pa sa mga sobrang naitulong na is that he's not trying to connect the idea of God sa kanyang philosophy. Tignan mo, wala pang nababanggit na God, no? Kasi nga, it's not that he does not believe in God. Actually, he has no religious affiliation. Wala siyang kinakampihan na relihiyon. Kaya siguro yun din yung rason kung bakit para sa kanya, yun, he doesn't want to connect religion with philosophy kasi para sa kanya mawawala ang critical thinking, ang masasabi nating free thinking ng tao kung yon ko-connect natin sa religion. Kaya he's trying to make a division sa dalawa. Not that he doesn't believe in the existence of God, pero dahil para sa kanya it's something na pwede naman na hindi isali para maintindihan ang mga bagay-bagay. So, yun. May tanong pa? Sino pa may tanong? Guys, diyan pa kayo?
Yes, sir.
Anong tanong mo, Gabi?
Wala. Okay.
Ay, wala. Ikaw rin may tanong ka? Wala. So, yun. So, punta na din tayo sa next topic. So, critical remarks. Observe the difference between Hume and Kant. Both agreed that the causal relation is not obtained from experience. This view was enough for Hume to invalidate all forms of knowledge by causality and adopt a skeptical attitude even with regard to scientific knowledge. For Kant, in the contrary, the a priori concepts of the mind such as causality mark scientific knowledge possible, progressive, and universal, far from discrediting universality and other categories of the mind. He made it the cornerstone of a scientific understanding of the universe. So, yun, tulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina, he is trying to make a establish a new science instead of pagiging skeptic or yung pagiging doubtful. Sabi niya, maybe there's a way that we can understand things in a universal and in a universal way. So yun yung kanyang idea, which is the synthetic a priori judgment. So punta na tayo sa number 2. So with Kant, the world order becomes mind dependent. Nature does not give the human mind its laws. The mind gives its own laws to nature in the form of its a priori categories, which organize the phenomena. With Kant, the turn in philosophy is that the object is always the creation of the subject. Kantian idealism is a action against all realism, and its message is that we live in a world of our own making. Tulad nga ng sabi ko kanina, the world doesn't present itself into us. And yun na yun. No? Hindi tayo hawak ng mundo. Kundi it's us who decide what happens no in our existence, kasi nga again we have freedom, no? Concept pa lang na yon. And at the same time, sabi niya, tulad ng examples ko, tayo ang nagpapangalan sa mga bagay-bagay, no? Which is an implication that tayo rin ang gumagawa ng sarili nating mundo. Kaya nga sabi dito, we live in a world of our own making. Hindi mundo ang nagdidikta sa atin, kundi yung sarili nating desisyon. Kaya lang, sa panahon ngayon, sa sobrang, alam nyo na, pagiging uso kasi ang mob, di ba? Puro mob. And the problem with that, yung mob mentality, is that ginawa lang ng isa, gagawin na ng lahat. And we think no na yun yung mundo ang kumokontrol sa buhay natin. But it's the other way around. We have our own rationality, we have our own mind, thinking. So, yun. It should be us that makes us own world and not the other way around. So, yun. Number 3. The new metas of metaphysics is to analyze the human mind, the a priori concepts of the understanding. Such metaphysics is the study of the mind, no longer an attempt to discourse on a reality which is in any case unknowable. Man knows only his own knowledge, and everything else is beyond the reach of reason. Naglolo ko yung mouse, sorry. So, yun. Di ba kasi nga, ang original metaphysics, always something, kaya nga metaphysics. Physics is the physical or the world, sabihin mo na lang. And meta means beyond. Kaya beyond this world, paraging something na ungraspable. Example, idea ng God, faith, mga ganun. Something na walang concrete proof. Pero sabi naman ni Kant, ang magiging bagong purpose na ng metaphysics is to analyze the human mind, in which yung human mind ang nagdidikta sa mundo, making it something na may connect lang din sa experience natin. That's why instead of studying something outside of this world, ang sabi ni Kant, it should be something that is in this world. Something na nai-experience na natin. So, yun. And number 4, the Kantian a priori categories of understanding close the door to any transcendence. Is Kant an atheist? No, because while theoretical reason is incapable of approaching the transcendent, he holds that practical reason posits the existence of God as postulate of moral life. Para kay Kant kasi, the purpose of religion is something na helpful. What do you mean helpful? Helpful in what? Moral and ethical values. Kasi nga that's the goal of any religious organization. Kahit anong religion mo, you look at the goal of that religion. It's always to be at the side of the good, the side of the righteous. So yun yung sabi ni Kant. That's the purpose of religion. sobrang helpful siya in making a person moral. Kaya lang, sabi rin ni Kant, uh, this is not always the case. No? Ang problema kasi minsan is nababaluktot. Nababaluktot. And what happens is that nagkakaroon ng problema. Kaya, and you look at religion sometimes, we become blind sa idea ng kasi nga may religion. Minsan kahit na mali na yung idealism ng religion, though meron naman siyang good aspects, minsan we tend to become blind. Pero sabi ni Kant, this should not be the basis of morality para kay Kant. So ano din ang basis ng morality, no? And yun yung next na topic na natin, no? The Kantian ethics. Wait lang, tingnan ko kung ilan pa. Oh, 2 pages na lang pala. Actually, hindi na natin ile-lesson tong post-Kantian, yung Hegel gan. Kasi look at it, hindi natapos. And at the same time, kon na to, contemporary philosopher. So, yung laman lang yan is kung paano na influence ni Kant yung mga bagong philosophers, which is similar lang din sa idea. Similar, but not the same. So there's a difference. There will still be differences. So yon, may tanong muna before tayo pumunta sa Kantian ethics. Any questions? Nagets ba yun muna? Yung kanyang synthesis ng rationality and empiricism?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. Ngayon, di ba sabi ko kanina, bakit gusto ni Kant ng idea ng universality? Ba't gusto niya ng something na universal? Or sa pwede nating gamiting term, something na applicable sa lahat. It's because it boils down to his ethics, sa kanyang morality, sabi ni Kant. So after the critique of pure reason, which is yun, yung last na lesson natin, critique of pure reason, yung synthesis between rationality, yung about sa mind ni Kant. He wrote other philosophical works, which includes the Critique of Practical Reason naman ngayon, yung kanyang title, and the Foundations of Metaphysics of Morals, both of which address specifically the problems of ethics. If you look at ethics and morals, moral and ethical theories, they are all trying to connect it with God, no? Existence of a divine, especially Aquinas. Sabi ni Aquinas, the human mind already knows what is moral and immoral. Why? And this is only because, sabi ni Aquinas, because man is created by God. And when God created man, he imbued human mind with the idea of what is already moral and immoral. By going back to the Bible, he created us in his likeness, image and likeness. Meaning if God is good, then we are also good. That's why we know what is moral and immoral. So yun yung argument ngayon ni Aquinas. Pero sabi ni Kant, this is not the case, sabi niya. Tignan nyo dito. Kant has grounded duty or morality on reason. Instead of grounding it or basing it on the idea of a divine being, he based it on the human mind itself. Ginawa niyang basis ang reason ng tao para alamin kung ano ang ethical and non-ethical. So reasoning itself is based on a respect for rules and laws. From such respect, Kant deduced a moral command, which he called the categorical imperative. So that's the term of Kant, no? Para sa yung kanyang moral philosophy, no? The categorical imperative. There are two ways na ginamit ni Kant as a phrase to what do you call this? To explain categorical imperative. Una is this, sabi niya. Act only according to that maxim by which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Sabi ko nga kanina, universality is very important kay Kant. Bakit? Because para kay Kant, an act should always be something na ini-imagine mong universal in order for you to know whether it is moral or immoral. So, ang gusto lang naman ni Kant is for man to understand that we can be good and kind without trying to connect it with religion. Kaya nga Kant grounded his philosophy of ethics in what? On human reason. So anong ibig sabihin ng phrase na to? Act only according to that maxim which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Palagi na natin tong naririnig, iba niya lang. They are the same concept but in different explanation. And ano yun? Do not do unto others what you do not want others do unto you. This is just the Kantian version of the golden rule. Bakit? Dito mamaya, no? May example dito. So, tuloy muna natin. All moral acts are modeled on principles that may be universalized. So, that's the term. Universalized without contradiction. Kant taught that as creatures of reason, we are duty-bound to obey such principles or maxims as meaning subjective rules of conduct. It is subjective because we must choose to submit ourselves to them. Alam nyo, si Kant, di ba, ang tingin natin sa mga philosophers, they are antisocial, basa lang ng basa ang ginagawa nila. They don't want other people. But this is not the case for Kant, no? Si Kant, isa siyang very sociable person. And from the accounts of his friends, he is a party goer. Mahilig siya mag-party-party, 'di ba? Sana all nakakalabas. So 'yun. And at the same time, the thing with Kant, sir, bakit ganyan yung pag-iisip ni Kant? Why is he trying to disconnect the idea of philosophy and religion? Because of one reason. He lived in an era of enlightenment. Ano ba tong enlightenment? The era of enlightenment sa philosophy is the era kung saan tinatry nilang i-divide or magkaroon ng what we call secularism. Ano yung secularism? Trying to disconnect religion with philosophy. So that's why he's trying to do it, because they're trying to reason out things without connecting it, especially on Christianity. Kasi nga sobrang laganap na ng Christianity, and what Kant wanted is to magkaroon ng sarili niyang theory nang hindi connect sa religion. Kasi hindi na siya original kapag you're trying to connect it with religion. Pero kay Kant, sabi niya, you can make a theory, especially on ethics, without justification of the divine. So yun lang naman yung gustong gawin ni Immanuel Kant. At the same time, he is pessimist about humans. Sabi niya, human nature, the thing with human nature is that we are prone to corruption. So, para sa kanya, he doesn't trust man. Man would always be selfish, something that is prone to be corrupted. So, paano ngayon to aayusin? No? Sabi ni Kant, present niya yung kanyang categorical imperative. Yun. And gusto niya tong categorical imperative na to na maging basis ng moral acts instead of religion as a basis of moral acts. So, yun. Nung panahon niya, madami ang philosophers na binibase ang kanilang moral philosophy kay God or sa what we call the divine. Pero kay Kant, no, he is different. He's trying to build his own by trying to disconnect it with religion. So, ang gusto lang naman ni Kant is he wanted to determine what is moral regardless of religion. In this way, it would become, babalik tayo sa kanyang pinaka-importanting idea, universal. Hindi na lang siya may kinakampihang religion, kundi magkakaroon ng universality sa morality. That's why he's trying to apply yung tinatawag niya na categorical imperative. Pero of course, before we understand this categorical imperative, meron pa siyang isang imperative. Wala to sa notes. So, isulat nyo kung gusto nyo para maalala nyo. Ito yung tinatawag ni Kant na hypothetical imperatives. Ano ba yung mga hypothetical imperatives? Ito yung mga bagay na ang akala natin they are important or they are needed or they are what's the term? They are universal. But by assessing them, pag titignan mo, hindi pala sila universal. So, sa tingin nyo, anong maibibigay nyo example ng mga actions na akala natin universal pero hindi pala? Anyone? Meron ba? Sinong nakakaisip? Okay. Ako muna magbibigay ng example and then try to assess it. Having a job. Is having a job a universal idea or is it not? Sige nga. Guys, dyan pa kayo? Guys. Ikaw, Gabi, is having a job a universal idea or not?
Ano na kasi ulit yung universal, sir?
Wala, yun lang yung tanong. Ang pagkakaroon ba ng trabaho is something na universal or pwede lang hindi magtrabaho?
Pwede lang hindi magtrabaho, sir.
So, it's hypothetical imperative.
Oo, sir. Ay, pala.
Not a categorical imperative. Right? For you.
Yes, sir. Okay lang din naman hindi magtrabaho. Ay.
Okay. The thing is, sabi ni Kant, why do you want to have a stable job or a good paying job? Because you wanted the money. So that's the defense with that for that idea. You desire money, therefore you have to have a job or else you won't have money. 'Di ba, Rene? Ikaw yung nangangarap na maging milyonaryo eh. Do you agree with that? Rene?
Sir, ulit nga.
If you desire money, then you ought to have a job or else you won't have money. 'Di ba?
No,
Paano ka din magkakapera? Magnakaw ka?
hindi. Mag-aasawa ng mayaman.
Sugar
Ay,
daddy.
wow! Outside the box ka talaga mag-isip. So, yun yung sabi ni Kant. Akala natin they are universal ideas. Yun nga, yun sabi ko. For example, having a job. But if you're a person who doesn't desire money, edi mamundok ka na lang. No? Stay ka sa bundok, tanim-tanim ka ng gulay, agalaga ka ng hayop. You don't have to have a job. Pero mabubuhay ka pa rin. Kasi nga, you don't desire money. Meaning that it is not a categorical imperative or it's not something na universal. But instead, it is a what? Hypothetical imperative. Kasi akala lang natin universal siya. Pero hindi pala. Another example is, mas makaka-relate kayo. Studying. Is studying hypothetical imperative or categorical imperative? Giselle.
Hypothetical.
Bakit?
Kung ayaw mo mag-aral, Sir Eddie Kwan, choice mo naman.
Tama naman yung sinabi mo na it's a categorical imperative. Medyo lumihis lang yung yung defense mo. Pero Giselle is right. Studying is not a categorical imperative. Instead is hypothetical. Bakit? You only study because you desire to have a high grade or a decent grade. But if you're a person who doesn't care about grades, okay na sa'yo ang 75. Di kahit wag ka pumasok sa klase ko, okay lang. Or kung ikaw yung estudyante na gusto na bumagsak, okay lang na bumagsak, hindi mo kailangan mag-aral ng mabuti. Pero, yung nagpupush kasi sa'yo, na gawin yun, is that, yung desire mo to have a decent grade. Kaya gusto mong mag-aral ng mabuti. But it's not universal. Okay? It's not something na applicable sa lahat. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng tao gustong magkaroon ng mataas na grade. So as a comparison sa categorical imperative, ang categorical imperative naman is yung mga bagay-bagay na universal. Ano yung mga yun? Yung main example niya is morality. To do things that is moral is something na categorical imperative. Hindi siya hypothetical. Hindi pwedeng hindi mo siya gawin kasi maraming maapektuhan, hindi lang ikaw. To make an example, ang tatanungin mo kasi muna whether an action is moral or not, para kay Kant, is to ask this question. Is it universal and applicable to everybody and acceptable to everybody? For example, cheating or having an affair, sabihin mo na lang. Kunwari, si Giselle, may kabit si Giselle. Kasi nga, sabi niya, isa lang naman ang affected. Yung boyfriend ko lang. And as long as hindi niya alam that I'm cheating, then no one is affected. Diba? Ngayon, sabi ni Kant, gawin mo siyang universal. What if lahat na ng tao nag-cheat na? So, pati yung boyfriend niya, pwede na rin mag-cheat. Lahat ng tao na may relationship, pwede na mag-cheat. Sabi ni Kant, diyan mo madededuce na cheating or having an affair is not moral or something na hindi dapat gawin. Why? Kasi nga, matatanggal ang essence or idea ng relationship. Mamamatay ang concept ng relationship kapag lahat pwede na mag-cheat. That's why para kay Kant, it's something na not universal. So yun mo yung isipin mo before ka gagawa ng action. Pag ginawa ba siya ng iba, matatanggap ko. If not, then it's not moral. Yun yung sabi ni Immanuel Kant. Another is stealing. Nakita ngayon ni Stephen, yung ballpen ni Joshua. Ganda. G-Tech. G-Tech na baliko na yung lead kasi nahulog, no? So yun, sabi niya maganda yung ballpen. Kunin ko kaya. Ngayon, kinuha niya ngayon yung ballpen ni Joshua. Sige nung, ingat ko. See you tomorrow. Kita niya ngayon yung ballpen ni Joshua. Then yun, kinuha niya, binulsa niya. And itong si Joshua, nakita niya yung kita niya yung sapatos ni Stephen. Maganda, sabi niya. Kinuha niya rin ngayon. Now, kapag inisip mo, lahat ng tao, acceptable na pala ang kumuha ng hindi sa'yo, anong masisira? Anong mawawalang concept? Concept ng property. Wala nang taong may property kasi lahat magnanakaw na. 'Di ba? So, yun. Yun ang sabi ni Kant. Ask first, tanungin mo muna, if everybody is doing that action, is it acceptable? And kapag ang sagot, no, it's not acceptable, then therefore it is not moral, sabi ni Immanuel Kant. So, yun ang categorical imperative. Kaya lang, there are two ways na pinag-define ni Kant ng categorical imperative. 'Di ba yung una is, wait lang, hanapin ko. 'Di ba yung una is, categorical imperative is an act only according to that maxim by which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Ito naman yung more on, mas maiintindihan mong concept ng categorical imperative. Sabi niya, act so that you treat humanity, whether in your person or in that of another, always as an act and never as a means. That's what Kant is talking about. So, isipin mo muna. Pag ginawa ba sa akin to, matutuwa ako? If not, then why do it in the first place? So, yun yung kanyang categorical imperative. So, as a comparison, kung titignan nyo yung ibang philosophies, di ba, they are more concentrating on the idea na God. No? Dapat immoral to kasi sabi ng religion or sabi ni God. Pero kay Kant, he is different. Sabi niya, this is moral because it is not universal. Or this is immoral because it is not universal. Or the other way around, it is moral because it is universal. Sabi ni Immanuel Kant. So, yun. Meron pa ba kayo, guys? Yan pa kayo? Anyway, hindi ko na yun babasahin. Kasi yun lang din yung laman nung in-explain ko. Wait lang. So, yun lang naman yung kanyang idea ng categorical imperative, no? Before ka gumawa ng action, sabi ni Kant, look at it first. Is it moral or is it universal? No, katanggap-tanggap ba pag gagawin na siya ng lahat or no? Because if the answer is no, then sabi ni Kant, it is not moral. It is something na hindi universal, sabi ni Kant. So, ang another term na tawag dito na principle ni Kant is ang tinatawag na the universalizability principle or the principle that universalize an action or hindi ang action, even even in things around us. If it's not universal, sabi ni Kant, then it is not kapag ang negative act is hindi pwedeng universalize, then it is not moral. So yun nga, tulad ng example ko, pag nanakaw, isipin mo muna, pwede ba siyang gawin ng lahat? If not, then it is not moral. And sabi pa ni Kant, it is the voice of our own rational self. Instead of yung tingin natin sa morality is something na conscience, 'di ba? Yun sa atin something na kasi sinasabi ng religion, dapat ganito ang gawin, dapat ganyan ang gawin. Sabi ni Kant, no, it's not the case because morality comes from our conscience kasi may sarili tayong pag-iisip. We have our own freedom of thinking. We have our own minds. Therefore, it is already enough kung gusto mo bang malaman na moral or immoral ang isang bagay. Kasi nga, there are times that religion fails in deciding which is moral and immoral. Pero sabi ni Kant, sometimes, of course, religion will have a bias. Pero yung philosophy ni Kant, yun lang naman yung gusto niya. Is it universal? Then, kung pwede siyang gawin sa lahat, applicable sa lahat, then it is moral. So, yun. Any questions sa kanyang categorical imperative? Guys, may tanong sa categorical imperative? Diyan pa kayo?
Sir, may tanong.
Oh,
Pero hindi sa categorical.
ano?
Moral ba magkaroon ng tax?
Para sa state, oo. Kasi nga, hindi mabubuhay ang state kung walang tax kasi walang fund. Kaya lang naaalala ko, good question, no? Naaalala ko yung sabi nung nung nag-debate about yan sa tax, sabi nung isa, there should be no tax. Sabi nung isa, yes, there should be no tax. Kasi, mas tinuturuan mong maging tamad, especially yung mga tao na umaasa lang sa pera ng bayan or pera ng state. Pero ang ganda nung sabi nung isa. Kasi nga, ang basis niya is this from Bible. Those who do not work should not eat. Pa meron yan. Which is the idea na kapag wala kang effort, hindi ka kakain. Pero dahil sa idea ng tax, kahit hindi ka magtrabaho, pwede kang kumain kasi the state will provide. So, tinuturuan niya daw maging tamad yung mga tao. Yung tax. Pero sabi naman nung isa, applicable yan noon. 19 kopong-kopong. Bakit? Because the number of employment is equal to the number of employees. Minsan sobra pa. There is more work to do, madaming trabaho, but few people. There are many opportunities. But nowadays, sabi niya, there are too many people and very few opportunities to work. You wanted to work, but you cannot have a job, sabi niya. Pwede kang gusto mong magtrabaho, pero walang available. So what do you do? You expect from the tax. Hindi sa tamad ka, sabi niya. It's just that you are relying on the money of the state kasi nga, there's no job opportunity. Kaya, sa akin, personally, sa panahon ngayon, where job is something na mahirap hanapin, then yes, tax is moral because it helps those people who have no job opportunities, especially yung mga hindi nakapagtapos. So, yun lang. Nasagot ko ba yung tanong mo? Ano yun, Ading? Ay, wala na, Ading. Ay, siya lang ang marunong, Ading. Umuwi na siya. Taga saan ka ba, Ading? Ay, sige. Bukas. Bukas na lang. Sige. So, yun lang. Nasagot ko ba yung tanong mo, Rene?
Yes, sir.
Oh, now, para sa'yo, do you agree? Is tax moral or hindi?
No.
Bakit? O, sige nga. I like your idea. Bakit para sa'yo?
Kasi mahirap na nga, moral sa mayayaman. Pero, pag mahirap ka, hindi.
Tama naman.
Okay.
Yan din yung rebat
Okay.
nung kalaban niya. Sabi nung kalaban niya. Tax is
Ngayon
something na
sa
negative, sabi niya. Kasi you're trying to make the society, the state live. Binubuhay mo yung state, sabi niya, or yung country. How? By killing your citizen. Pinapatay mo sa tax yung citizen mo kasi sobrang taas para buhayin yung state. And sabi niya, but it's an irony kasi never mo daw mabubuhay ang state kung patay ang mga citizens. So yeah, tama naman yung kan mo, yung argument mo na mahirap ka na nga, tinatax ka ba, mamamatay ka talaga. Walang matitira para sa'yo. So, siguro ang magandang solusyon lang is idea lang is that there will be ano ba to? Acceptable na tax. Kasi minsan, oo nga, they're taxing the citizens to death na sobrang ang laki na. Wala nang matitira sa tao. And yun, sana may tax pa rin. Para sa akin there should still be tax. Pero hindi sana ganun kalaki. Kasi grabe na rin ang tax sa panahon ngayon. So yun lang yung idea ko. May dagdag ka pa rin eh. Kayo guys, agree ba kayo kay Rene?
Both argument na sir is valid.
Di ba?
Both argument are valid in which as a person naman na syempre as a person who pay taxes naman I will make synthesis na lang to the both argument.
Wow.
Pero sa sir,
Naging kan ka na pala.
pero ano po sir yung idea yung dalawa ni Rene is tama naman po.
But ako, I agree with Rene, no? Minsan kasi sumusobra na rin ang state. Minsan they don't know their boundary. No? Nasobrahan nila yung kaswapang. Kaya minsan nagiging instead of positive yung aspect. 'Di ba? Yun naman kasi ang original na concept ng tax para matulungan yung mahirap. Pero sa panahon kasi ngayon, ang tax hindi na pantulong sa mahirap. Pangkurakot ng nasa gobyerno. Kaya yun. Yun din ang problema minsan. Kayo, Joshua, Stephen, may dadagdag kayo? Or may tanong kayo? Ganon? Sa lesson?
Wala po, sir.
Ay, wala. Sige. And additionally, no, may dadagdag lang ako. Sabi dito, sabi ni Kant, no? It doesn't, moral, di ba? Kanina yung example natin, yung pag-aaral ng mabuti, tsaka pagtatrabaho. we desire, di ba? We desire to have money and we desire to have a good grade. That's why we study and we work. Pero ang concept ng morality, sabi ni Kant, it's not something that we desire. Sabi niya, it doesn't matter if we want or do not want to become moral because we are all universally binded to it. Ibig sabihin, unlike yung unang concepts, unang dalawang concepts, yung dalawang example ko, pwede mong hindi gawin. Pero sabi ni Kant, doing moral actions is not something to be chosen. Hindi siya pinipili. It's not a desire. Instead, it's a duty, sabi ni Kant. Para kay Kant, morality is a duty, not a choice. So, yun. And to end it, meron pang isang book si Kant, last, which is yung Beauty. Aesthetics of Kant. Sabi ni Kant, di ba, nakita na natin yung purpose ng mind or yung critic of reason. And then, yung idea ng morality or yung critic of judgment. And then, how about aesthetics? How about beauty? Anong purpose niya sa mundo? Diba? Na-realize na natin ang silbi ng mind and rationality and ang purpose ng morality. Ano naman ngayon ang purpose ng aesthetics, sabi ni Kant? Sabi ni Kant, di ba sabi niya, minsan selfish ang tao, kung maaalala nyo. He doesn't trust man because man is corruptible and selfish. Sabi ni Kant, the purpose of aesthetics is that we become selfish because of aesthetics, but not in a harming way. Instead, because of aesthetics, we become selfish in a charming, delightful, and beautiful way. For example, pakikinig ng music, it doesn't harm anybody. It is art. It is aesthetics. But it doesn't harm anyone. And para kay Kant, yun yung purpose ng art. No, yun yung purpose ng art para sa kanya. To make an example, the way a child, sabihin mo na ang bata or a toddler, appreciates the beauty of a flower is the same appreciation in the beauty, in the eye of an adult person. Or kahit na yung pag-appreciate mo sa mga painting or sabihin mo na lang nature. Kapag if you're looking at nature, even a child or a philosopher or a professional or a non-professional, kahit alin ka dun, it's the same appreciation. So para kay Kant, naging takas natin ng aesthetics para maging selfish. But the difference is that there's no guilt. Walang guilt. Bakit? Because you're not harming anybody. Unlike sa morality, tulad ng examples natin kanina, pagnanakaw, no? Pagpatay, pangangabit, no? Or affairs, or cheating, it cannot be universalized. Unlike sa aesthetics, sabi ni Kant, if you do it, wala kang maapektuhan na tao. So yun, para kay Kant, ang purpose ng aesthetics. So yun lang. Any questions pa? May tanong pa?